Hey guys, welcome back. So Criterion just wrapped up the first of their biannual flash sales, 50% off everything. And yeah, I did what I always do. I had to participate again. Of course, after I placed my first order, I get that $50 credit, and then I immediately placed another. What's weird is that my second package actually shipped and arrived first, so I've been sitting on part of this haul for a bit. But everything finally came in, and this time I tried to be a little more intentional with what I picked up. I went with a couple of box sets to really get the most value out of the sale, something visually iconic that I've been meaning to watch for a long time, and a personal favorite that honestly just feels right about having in the collection. So as usual, this isn't a full review, just a spotlight on each title, what makes it interesting, a few standout features, and why I think it's worth adding to the collection. So let's get into it. First up, Pee-wee's Big Adventure in 4K. This one is pure nostalgia for me. I watched it countless times growing up, like many of you, and it still works because it fully commits to how weird it is. Pee-wee is just one of those characters that feels completely original. You really don't get anything else like him. Rewatching it now, it's also pretty interesting that it's Tim Burton's first feature. You can already see that signature style, the exaggerated sets, the offbeat humor, that slightly surreal storybook feel. The whole movie plays like a live-action cartoon. At its core, it's just a simple story about him trying to get his bike back, but it turns into this unpredictable cross-country adventure filled with memorable, bizarre moments. For features, I think the big standout here is the commentary with Tim Burton and Paul Reubens. That alone adds a lot of insight of how this character and this world came together. There's also a separate track with Danny Elfman focusing on the score, which is huge because the music is just a big part of this film's identity. And as for why it belongs in the collection, well, this isn't just a cult comedy. It's the start of a major filmmaker, and a film that really embraces outsider creativity in a way that still feels unique today. Love this movie. Next up, big one, America Lost and Found, the BBS story. Honestly, didn't expect to grab this. It's one of those sets that's always in and out of stock, so catching it early in the sale felt like a win. And yeah, I think it was unavailable not long after. But this set is basically a snapshot of the new Hollywood movement. That late 60s, early 70s period where filmmakers started to break away from that traditional studio system. So in this collection you got Head, which is probably the most experimental of the bunch. A surreal, self-aware monkeys film that completely flips their image. It's chaotic, but intentionally so. Maybe not for everyone. Then you got Easy Rider, which is really the turning point. It's raw, stripped down, and helped redefine what American filmmaking could look like. The editing, the music, the tone, it just feels different. Then you got 5 Easy Pieces, which kind of pulls everything back into something more grounded. Jack Nicholson gives one of his defining performances here. Quiet, but it really hits on the themes of identity and dissatisfaction. Next up is Drive, He Said, which is Nicholson's directorial debut, and it feels like pretty much what you'd expect. Messy, energetic, and very much a product of its era. And then you got A Safe Place, which is probably the most abstract. It blends fantasy and reality in a way that's not always easy to follow, but shows how far they were pushing storytelling. And then of course you got The Last Picture Show, which is easily one of the standouts. It's shot in black and white, really grounded, and emotionally heavy. It's just a great example of character-driven filmmaking. A couple of these also have their own standalone releases. And finally, you have The King of Marvin Gardens. This leans more into that quiet, melancholic tone. Less flashy, but it sticks with you. Feature-wise, this set is pretty stacked. What really stands out are the documentaries and the commentaries that explain the context. Not just how these films were made, but why they mattered. And that's why this set belongs in the collection. It's not just a set of movies, but a turning point in American cinema. Next up is Barry Lyndon in 4K. So this is a long overdue watch for me. I feel like this is one of the films you constantly hear about, especially when people are talking about cinematography. Stanley Kubrick approached this almost like a series of paintings. Every frame is carefully composed, and a lot of scenes were shot using natural light or even candlelight with specialized lenses. So visually, I know this one is on another level. Oh, it's a little bent. The story follows an opportunistic character working his way through 18th century society. But from what I understand, it's less about plot and more about observing character, behavior, status, and consequences. The features here really lean into that craftsmanship, archival interviews and materials that break down how Kubrick approached the visuals, production design, all of that. And this just feels like essential Criterion. It's not just a movie you watch, but one you study. Next up, WALL-E 4K. And yeah, this one stands out right away. You don't usually see Disney or Pixar in the collection. This is actually the first Pixar film to get the Criterion treatment, which says a lot about how it's viewed. I believe the director Andrew Stanton made a big push for this to enter the collection, so glad he did. This film is a unique film because it relies a lot on visual storytelling. There's barely any dialogue in the start, but it still builds emotion, humor, and character just through movement and sound. It starts small, just this robot cleaning up Earth, and then gradually expands into something bigger. A love story, a sci-fi film, and a commentary on consumerism and environmental collapse. The standout feature here is the Pixar Story documentary, which gives a lot of insight into how the studio, and films like this, came to be. There's also a lot of behind-the-scenes material focusing on how the film was visually constructed. And why does this belong in the Criterion collection? Well, this is a perfect example of animation being treated as cinema. Not just something entertaining, but something crafted with intention and artistry. And finally, the Samurai Trilogy. I'm a big fan of samurai films, and Toshiro Mifune is always a draw, so this was an easy pickup. What I like about this series is it's really a full character arc across 3 films. The first film introduces Musashi as this reckless, almost impulsive young man chasing glory. The second film leans more into the action, where he starts becoming that legendary swordsman, facing rivals and refining his skills. And the third film is more reflective, building towards that final duel, while also focusing on what it actually means to be a warrior. So it's not just action, it's growth, it's discipline, and philosophy over time. The features lean more on the historical side, which is great, with interviews that go into the real Musashi, which adds a lot of context to the films. And this is exactly the kind of international cinema that Criterion does best. Influential, character-driven, and still impactful today. So yeah, that's my haul this time. Not necessarily a big one, but I feel like I made it count. Good mix of personal favorites, blind buys, and some deeper film history. So let me know what you picked up during the sale, or what you're planning to grab next. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.